Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terror Podcast, Season 10, Episode 43. He's Dave Bryan and Myles, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us on these Friday Steelers Nation. And Dave, we were going to talk, I'm sure, extensively today about the Steelers looking just miserable on Thursday night, losing to the Cleveland Browns 21-7 to drop to 5-5 on the 2019 season. But that all changed immediately with the final seconds of the game. And I don't even know where to begin with this one. I've never seen anything like this on a football field before. And obviously a conversation that's not only dominating the sports landscape, but just dominating the media landscape in general. Everyone's talking about this unbelievable way that game ended.
Yeah, good morning, America. You know,
Right.
you talking about that on in the final few minutes of that game. Obviously, yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Not only a lot today, but moving past and you know, however long it takes for the discipline to be ruled down. And, you know, look, they play Cleveland a few more weeks from now, too, so it's going to dominate the pregame in that. We're going to be talking about this for quite a while, quite honestly. So I guess we'll go ahead and go that direction and knock that out first, you know, I guess. But surely by now everybody's seen, you know, the final kind of, you know, few seconds of that game Thursday night where Myles Garrett really and supposedly, you know, really had no reason to, but went after kind of, you know, after Mason Rudolph had gotten rid of a quick pass there. Why he continued to try to take the quarterback down to the ground in the manner that he did, I don't know. Mason, of course, didn't want him on top of him at that time, you know, kind of fighting back, if you will, and that's when the melee kind of occurred there. And, you know, as they were getting up, Myles Garrett's pulling Mason Rudolph's helmet off of him. Mason's kind of chasing after him there, and he swings that thing and clocks him upside the head. And Maurkice Pouncey gets involved in it, and here we go. And Larry, how do you pronounce Larry's last name?
Ogunjobi.
Ogunjobi. Yeah, he gets in there and inexplicably comes up and pushes Mason, you know, from behind down on the ground. And what a mess. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see who gets what out of here. They had Mike Pereira, you know, Fox NFL rules analyst on immediately, and I wrote about that after the game. Up on Steelers Depot early this morning, and provided a video along with that as well too. Mike Pereira thinks, you know, 4 games at least for Myles Garrett, and I could definitely see it going that route or the rest of the season for that matter. Wouldn't surprise me. I think he deserves the rest of the season, but we'll see. And Mike Pereira went on to say that Maurkice Pouncey is probably going to get some sort of a suspension too. And while I do think that is possible, looking at it, trying to be as objective as possible as I always am, I could see Maurkice Pouncey getting sat down for a game for the swinging and the, you know, kicking, if you will. But with that said, I do not blame Maurkice Pouncey one bit for his actions that he took. I mean, I would have done the same thing, Alex, and, you know, hopefully you would have done the same thing. Well, maybe you would. No,
I would. I would have been less effective.
Yeah, they'd been hitting him in the knees, wouldn't you?
Yeah, right.
No, but in all seriousness, look, I mean, what do you want? Your quarterback's getting assaulted, and there's no other way to describe that other than an assault with really kind of a deadly weapon, if you will. I mean, if he would have clocked him just right or hard enough, A, could have killed him. B, could have put him out of football forever, if you will. So just what a mess. Now they're talking about should criminal charges and all like that. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, you could go that route. But even if you're charged with assault, you know, in something like that, what's it going to come to? You know, I think the bigger thing here is how is the league going to handle this as far as suspensions go, and you know, will Pouncey get leniency for essentially just trying to protect a victim in this case. So that the angles that we went off riding into the sunset or into the AM with changed drastically during the final few minutes of that game.
I agree with everything you said, Dave. Let's just call it what it is, and you used the term. It was assault. If that happened, 10 feet outside the Brown Stadium, Myles Garrett's in jail today, and that's just the reality of it. I've never seen, and maybe you can speak to it better because you've been watching football a lot longer than I have. I've never seen anyone do anything like that before to that degree, to just maliciously, intentionally, just attack Mason Rudolph with his own helmet. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Man, I'm sure some of these old football follies. I mean, look, I don't think they even had to remove some of these old NFL films sometimes because of the violence, in them. Have I ever seen a player swing a helmet before? I can't remember exact game and what player it was, but I have. Have I
seen him connect like that?
No, I've never have. I can't recall ever seeing one, especially kind of like in a windmill fashion, if you will, like that, and connect upside the head like that. No, I can't. But look, I mean, you go back to Mean Joe Green in the '70s and some of the things that went on both between the whistles and after it, kind of situation. I mean, there was some nasty play back then, right?
Sure.
But I'm sure there's been helmets ripped off before and swung at other players. But I can't ever remember anybody getting clocked upside the head like that. And I mean, I agree, it is assault. But once again, okay, you bring the police in here, and he's charged with assault. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that it's actually going to get to that point. I don't think you're going to see Garrett actually charged with assault. I believe there's a report from the Post-Gazette today that Mason Rudolph's agent and his legal team are looking into options. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. But I use that term to really emphasize the obvious, but emphasize how malicious that was and how unprecedented what Myles Garrett did last night really is. And sure, we've seen brawls and scrums, and back in the day you had a lot of nasty stuff. And in modern day you've had fights and, some pretty heinous acts committed. Albert Hainsworth, I think, stepped on a guy before, and we've seen stuff like that. But never like this, never to that degree, never so dangerously and so violently to attack someone with their own helmet to the head, too, which is what makes it all the worse. And as you said earlier, I'm proud of the way the Steelers O-line responded and how they stuck up for their quarterback. And yes, that's probably going to mean Pouncey's going to get suspended for at least the game, but I think he said he'll accept any punishment the NFL gives him, because you got to be proud of the way the line stuck up for their guy.
Yeah, look, I thought his post-game comments were measured enough. I mean, look, he was still hot, right? Mm-hmm. Not even an hour after all that had happened. Yeah, I mean, and him saying I accept, but my quarterback's out there getting assaulted. That's what I'm going to do. So I think he kind of sent a mini message back to the league right then. Once again, do I think Pouncey should get a game off? Deep down inside, no. But knowing kind of the rules and what I think that I expect, yes. Should it be anything more than a game? No, I don't think so. I'll be fine if it is just a game. Won't like it, but I'll accept it, and I won't campaign against it. Now, Myles Garrett, obviously a different story there. I mean, and look, I think Pereira brought up this isn't Garrett's first run-in with kind of quarterbacks,
right.
This year as well too. So I mean, if we're talking about Boy Scout from day one here, even then it's probably 4 games. at least. But we're not talking about Johnny Boy Scout here. We're talking about a guy that's already been, fined or whatnot for hits or whatnot on quarterbacks so far. So I think you got to look at that and then add this on top of it and go from there. And yeah, he'll probably appeal it or whatnot. But Pereira says, look, there's probably no way he'll appeal it, but there's probably no way it gets lessened here. But you want to. Like Pouncey said, we'll see what the NFL thinks about their players and this whole concussion. You just had, Jesus, how many guys did you lose during that game to concussion, vicious hits? Which even Pouncey said, look, that's football. All right, that's the stuff that happened. Now, what was one? Was the one by Demarius Randall kind of questionable assault, if you will? No, not really. But, it was kind of a dirty-ish hit there. But, you're just coming out of a game where you're seeing, a handful of players laid out on the field. We know this ongoing narrative against the NFL and concussions and all that anyway. And then at the end of it, you have a guy who's their team's going to win the game, rips off the opposing quarterback's helmet and tries to knock him upside the noggin with it, or does hit him upside the head with it. They need to throw the book at him in 4 games at least, and in my opinion, the rest of the season.
I'm with you. I think it should be the rest of the season. No doubt in my mind about it. And not only, I know this doesn't matter to me as much in the moment, but obviously we're talking Mason Rudolph, who suffered one of the worst looking hits just a couple weeks ago against the Ravens that knocked him out. And Rudolph seemed fine. He said he was fine after the game. Was able to do the post-game media stuff. So that's good, because that could have been another serious head injury in the second in about a month span for Mason Rudolph. So it was a really vicious game, and I in a sense I feel for the Browns roster outside of Myles, Garrett, and Ogunjobi, and the fan base, because they should be talking about how great of a win that was last night to go to 4-6, to kind of get back into this thing, to get a pretty signature win in primetime football over the Pittsburgh Steelers, fairly convincingly too. And now all we're talking about is Myles Garrett's stupid action, and that's man. I just cannot believe that we're talking about this today and that really happened on the football field.
And, I don't think Freddie Kitchen handled – I haven't listened to the whole thing, but the parts that I have sure don't paint him giving some right responses, to some of those questions. So if you get a chance, everybody go to, I guess clevelandbrowns.com have the full one of that. Go sit back and try to listen to the full context of that. And also Larry Ogunjobi, a few of his comments weren't, on point either. And look, what should happen to, if you're going to give Pouncey a game off, you got to give Larry one off too, right?
Yeah, the Ogunjobi might get one. I guess it's just in comparison to what he did versus what Garrett did, almost makes Ogunjobi look better. I know that doesn't, just shouldn't track the way that it does. So we'll see. But definitely Garrett for me the rest of the year. Pouncey's likely to get a game, and I'm okay with that. I think it was, I'm fine with that. I think you take that as the cost of doing business in the sense of defending your quarterback. I think Pouncey would do that, any day of the week, knowing what he knows about getting suspended for it. And we'll see with Ogunjobi. But if you don't discipline Garrett, if you don't throw the book at him for this, what do you throw the book at? I mean, what could be more egregious than his action? If you can't come down and make a serious statement about what Myles Garrett did Thursday night, then there's no statement you could ever make about a serious act on a football field. They got to go. They got to bring down the hammer on this guy.
All right, what do you think should happen to Mason Rudolph? Just some are saying that he's a key component in this, and he deserves a game off too.
No, I mean, he may be fined, and that's okay. And I'm like, obviously there was a scrum, and they were getting into it. I'm not going to pretend like Rudolph was an innocent bystander the entire time, and Rudolph kind of went after him, but only one guy in that scrum assaulted the other with a helmet, and that wasn't Mason Rudolph. And so the focal point should be on what Garrett did. So I'm not going to pretend like, Rudolph was totally innocent in this, but I'm not going to pretend like anything Rudolph did is even close to what Garrett did, and that's what the focus should be.
James Jones, well, I don't know if you heard his comments on,
I have.
Post-game, just idiot, what drives some of these guys to say some of the things that they say on these shows. Alex, Stephen A. Smith, I think, makes something like $8 million a year. Heck, what are we worth?
What did James Jones say? I didn't.
Just something to the degree that Mason played a huge. Mason instigated all this, and he deserves. Just taking the other side of it. I mean, it's just very unfounded. That clip's not hard to find on the Twitter machine.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of takes out there about how Rudolph is just as in the wrong as Garrett is, and again, that's nothing further from the truth. Was Rudolph involved? Sure, I'm not going to pretend like he wasn't, but he didn't. None of his actions even came close to the actions that Garrett took. That crossed an obvious line. I thought any player would be able to recognize, even in the heat of the moment. Yeah,
look, I mean, it was barbaric. Troy Aikman hit it right on the head. I thought barbaric, and there are, never seen anything like that before, and. What does it say? Do you worry about maybe the condition of some of these players though, too? For a guy to reach the rage level of that amount of rage that late in the game that they're going to win, what does that say about the game maybe? And head issues and all like that. Are we going to find out years down the road that Garrett took too many hits to the head? I'm not excusing it. Look, I mean, I'm mania bipolar, I try to tell people that out front. I don't apologize for that, but I also don't use it as an excuse. Yeah,
that's a fair point. I don't know how you legislate that or what you do, but what I'm focused on is just the here and now. And the here and now is that, and I know you are too, that Garrett should be suspended for the remainder of the 2019 season. And if they don't, I think it's a mistake by the NFL. Even if he gets 4 games, 4 games is not enough.
Should this be rapid, meaning today, or should they indeed kind of take the time and get this, by obviously by Tuesday. In other words, and Mike Pereira said, they have time on their, so with this being a Thursday night game and all, they have time here. So I guess what I'm saying is should this be swift? I mean, should we know by the end of the day, or are you fine with it taking until Tuesday as long as they get it right?
That's where I was going to go. I'm more concerned with them getting it right in terms of the punishment as opposed to getting it done right away. So if they want to take some time to investigate and kind of take the weekend and get an answer by Monday, I'm okay with that. As you said, I'm more concerned with them getting it right in terms of the discipline as opposed to hearing the answer right away.
Yeah, if they come out today, it better be he's out for the season.
I mean, on Monday, it better be he's out for the season. That's what I'm focused on, is that they get the right punishment, and if it takes till Monday to do that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and like we said, if all I had to do was talk about nothing but happens between the white lines with the football, not people swinging helmets or doing things off the field, I'd be totally fine. I just started to roll my eyes, immediately as that happened, because I knew that this was going to dominate everything, from there on out.
Yeah, and I'm just glad Mason Rudolph's okay, because he certainly could have not been after taking that kind of blow, and I'm glad everyone's okay. But yeah, I think the league probably will take till Monday, because there were so many moving pieces to try to sort out. Garrett, Rudolph, Ogunjobi, Pouncey, the whole situation in general. I'm not expecting an answer today. I think you'll probably get one on Monday.
Yeah, I think Monday or Tuesday is what you're looking at here.
All right. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about from this incident? I mean, I think it's clear cut. Garrett assaulted Mason Rudolph, and he should be suspended for the year. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I do as well, too. And look, I mean, you want to talk about really crippling your own team, and how's this going to look on, Freddie Kitchens has already been accused of not having a good control of that team, being a poor manager, of his own team there. And how's this going to look if he loses Myles Garrett, arguably the best player is the best defensive player on that side of football? Look, Myles Garrett we would be talking about Myles Garrett a lot today just for his play on the football field.
He played a great game.
But now we're talking about things that he did, after the whistle kind of stuff here. So that's going to cripple an already not great defense, if you will, by him being out. We'll see what happens to Larry Ogunjobi, as well, if he is gone for a game. I mean, this could end up, they needed this win to get back into this.
Mm-hmm.
But now they might turn around and lose Garrett, and that might end up creating another loss or two for them, which they can't have.
That's a great point. Not only did it shift the discussion from their big win Thursday night, it now changes the landscape of their future and their chances of trying to get back into the playoff race, because he's been their best and at times sole source of pass rush, and they're not going to have him for at least a month. And again, I think for the rest of the year would be the appropriate punishment.
All right, I guess we should talk about that game that happened.
Yeah, and I wish we didn't because of how ugly it was. I mean, just nothing offensively. And here's what it came down to for me, is you had a pretty similar game as the win streak. The difference was the defense gave up one or two splash plays, and they failed to create the splash plays that they've so consistently created over this win streak. So that was, to me, the biggest difference, is you had a defense that didn't play terrible for a large portion of this game, held the Browns to the 14 points until Rudolph threw that final pick that set up the final score of the game to ice it. But you had a defense that couldn't create the big play in an offense that, again, and then with injuries, went nowhere.
Yeah, we wondered when it was going to happen, right? What happens if the defense can't provide that huge splash play or two or three, set up the offense in short field situations with what we have appropriately labeled all season a fragile offense. And the fragile offense got more fragile during the game as well, too. I don't know where you want to start on this because there was so much bad. I guess, here's the thing. The defense had their moments, not so good moments. And maybe that's the place that we'll start here. You give up 4 explosive plays in total in the game. 2 of them came back to back. One on a third and whatever it was, where you allow Baker to extend the play. You got a good pass rusher, but he extends the play, then he hits Kareem Hunt, and he already your back's cracked already as it is because you gave up a third and long. The very next play, home run down the middle to Odell Beckham Jr. What looked like cover 0 with no blitz. Is that what it looked like to you?
Well, yeah, at first, I think Steven Nelson thought he was going to get safety up over the middle of the field, but on replay, Minkah was sitting single high. They ran a 3 vertical concept, and Minkah had to carry the receiver, I think it was a tight end, down the middle of the field. So there was no safety up. Minkah seemed to do his job. So there was either miscommunication. It looked like there was miscommunication between what Nelson was expecting and what he got, but I don't think Minkah did anything wrong on that play. I'll have to go back and look at it. I didn't get a great view at it. I'm not sure what the coverage was, but bottom line, it was 1-on-1. Nelson thought he was getting inside help when he didn't have it.
Yeah, it looked to me like it might be a cover 0, but more hug kind of hug blitzes instead of just going after him,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kind of thing. Because of course, cover 0 is no safety, because your safety's manned up on somebody there. So and everybody's manned up. But if you go back and look at it, yeah, I don't think that Minkah, and maybe just bad leverage, bad technique by Nelson giving up the middle of the field there, and
right.
they ran play action on that, and that of course had
I think the play action had the effect because it sucked everyone up, and that's probably what made everything look so muddy.
Right. I mean, but even if those linebackers don't get sucked up, that's going to be opened, the way the route was run and the way Nelson was in trail, if you will. Sure. On that. So, yeah, I can't wait to see that one on the All-22. But back to the kind of the overview, the 30,000 feet look at it. You give up bam, bam, explosive play right there, and of course, one play later, you're down 7-0 there. Well, you get into the second quarter there, and give up another couple of explosive plays back to back, and ends up that you're down 14-0, just like that. And this has been a defense that since Minkah arrived has been, I think, gave up something like 18 or something explosive plays maybe in total since then, and 0 of 40 yards or more during that span. And boom, boom, you've given up two what I like to call double explosive plays, and then a couple of single explosive plays on top of it. So essentially, you could say that you gave up 6 explosive plays in that game. Luckily, all those explosive plays only led to just 14 points, but 14 points against a fragile Steelers offense when that defense isn't getting the ball back for you in a short field is a huge amount of points as it is. So other than that, look, against the run, I don't know, what did they even end up with net run on that?
I'm not sure.
For the Browns, it was looks like 104 minus. Yeah, it looks like 104 yards there on net rushing for the Browns, which isn't awful, I guess there. Obviously you would have liked it to have been a little less there, but to me that's not what killed you. I mean, the defense kept you in it for sure, and any time that you hold a team to 14 or less points throughout the majority of the game. Now, yeah, they got another touchdown late, but there wasn't a lot of blades of grass to defend there. But most of this game, it was an acceptable level by the defense. Obviously, the blown coverage on the second touchdown there that you didn't like to see, but those kind of things are going to occasionally rear their ugly head. But I thought for the most part, outside of the explosive plays and a couple of runs here and there, the defense played okay. The biggest thing, and it was the killer, and it was obvious throughout the game, they were getting pressure. They just couldn't keep Baker Mayfield contained in the pocket. And look, you see how the element of Baker Mayfield's game that's probably going to keep him in the league a while, and that's his ability to extend the play and still make plays down the field. I thought that was the most killer aspect of what Baker Mayfield was able to do against the Steelers defense.
I agree. Well said. I thought they let Baker be able to escape the pocket, extend the play too many times, especially on third down. The Browns didn't have a lot of third down conversions, but I think the majority of the ones that they did convert was Baker escaping the play. There was one on the right side. There was the first one to Kareem Hunt. And then, just gave up the 2 explosive plays, and your defense didn't create a short field. They didn't steal a possession. They didn't have a scoop and score kind of play, and your offense really needed that. They've needed it throughout this whole win streak, and certainly needed it with all the injuries they dealt with last night. So your defense didn't make a big play. You knew your offense wasn't capable of making a big play, and that's how you lose this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, you gave up just 17 receptions in this game, 193 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and like I said, I mean, 293 net yards. That's not awful, but I think in the manner, you just hated to see those third and longs get converted when it looked like you got the pressure initially there, and you're thinking, drag. You got away again, kind of thing there. And I'll give Baker this, man. He is good about getting out of the pocket. He's good about keeping his eyes up and down the field and trying to wait. Now, a couple more than once, he had to throw the football away. But at least he lived to fight another day and not take a 6-yard, 7-yard sack or whatever in those situations there. So I thought that was the most killer aspect of what the Steelers had the defense again. And some, some of those things look like him just playing Frogger in the pocket, up, out, over, just the way his pocket presence was, his feel of the pocket, maneuvering around in there, let him find the escape lane. So props to him. But that was what I thought was a big aspect, at least what the Browns did offensively. And once again, did Chubb have a couple of nice runs? Yeah, absolutely he did. Did the Browns manufacture 4 explosive plays in the game? Yeah, they did. Did they have the blown touch? Did they have the touchdown against the blown coverage deep down in the end zone? Yeah, but even so, you're looking at most of that game down either 14-0, 14-7. So I'm not going to be too terribly critical of the defense overall in this game, and I think we were just critical there in this 10-minute recap of it.
Sure. In a game where your offense could move the ball at all, you were dealing with field position issues all game. The offense turned the football over all game. When did the Browns go up 21-7? How much time was there left?
5:25.
Yeah, so your defense, until the last 5 minutes, which were given a short field off the final Rudolph pick, had only allowed 14 points to a Browns offense that hasn't been great, but certainly has a lot of names and has the capability of being potent. So you can't be too mad about it, but you're right. Only one sack, no big splash plays, giving up too many third downs. That situational stuff are the things that's really going to hurt you. So I think the Browns were solid in the red zone too. I'm not entirely sure what the red zone numbers were, but I think they were pretty impressive. Were they 3 of 3 in the red zone?
Let me find out for you here real quick.
I think they were 3 of 3. They had the sneak, the Landry touchdown, and then the touchdown in the end zone to go up 21.
They were 3 of 3.
Yeah. So situational football, some key third downs, some disciplined stuff there. That stuff's going to hurt you. And again, I guess it's a good time to transition to the offense, an offense that frankly felt like a week 2 preseason game as opposed to a regular season 5-4 football team.
It was awful, and I wish it was the preseason people that were in there because it makes it a lot more explainable. Short week. I don't know how much that played a part in it. The whole getting on the bus, kind of thing on a short week as well too. They did not look like they were ready to play. I sat there this morning trying to think who would I have graded as the best player offensively? And without seeing the all 22 and it's the end zone play of the offensive line, I'm going to guess, and I might be wrong on this one because I'm not seeing certain angles there. I would probably say, gun to my head, it would be David DeCastro.
I might go Vance. But yeah, if you're going O-line, I think DeCastro might be the only one that played well.
Do you remember him I remember Pouncey getting steamrolled, I think, a couple times. Mm-hmm. Foster, Filer, Lord have mercy, Alejandro Villanueva. For all the times that Alejandro Villanueva kind of handled himself okay against Myles Garrett, this wasn't that day.
Yeah.
He just got manhandled.
It was just bad across the board. The line couldn't block, run blocking, pass protection. You were down to a combination of James Washington, Devon Jones, and Johnny Holton, which is, I'm cringing as I say that. Mason Rudolph on a short week, lack of reps. You could clearly tell he was affected by it. James Conner goes out. You lose Juju Smith-Schuster. You lose Deontay Johnson. I mean, it's a skeleton crew out there, and you're still competitive in that game. So, again, I've said it all year. If this offense was even just average, you're winning a lot of these games that you've lost this season. You have a different feel to the year. But the offense simply couldn't do anything. There's not a whole lot more analysis needed than they just were stuck in neutral the entire game.
Man, they were one of whatever it was on third downs for the longest part of that game, with the one being a quarterback sneak. This team can't even the offense actually got in some more. I don't have the distances in front of me, but they actually got in some manageable third and short situations here, and fourth and short situations, and they still couldn't convert.
Not even just short in one. They were in third and one. They were in fourth and one. And I think the broadcast said, and I'll have to pull up the number here. Let me pull up the number now, actually. They are the worst third and one, fourth and one team in football right now, and I think it's by a pretty sizable margin.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there.
They just couldn't do anything situationally, big picture stuff.
While you're looking that up, look, we came into this thinking, all right, you got James Conner back in this one. You're facing a run defense that's not great, especially a run defense on 1st and 10 that's not. It's even not greater than bad, basically. I wrote about this the other day about how the Steelers in 1st and 10 situations and their success rates have been bottom of the league here. And the running game obviously has a lot to do with it, but the passing game hasn't helped either. Now the passing game numbers are a little bit better, not overall, but you balance that stuff out on 1st and 10. I don't care what you call on 1st and 10, you gotta get 4 yards or more. And you gotta do that at least 50% of the time. That should be the standard. When you're down in the 40% range, you're running into a lot of second and longs then, and that's a byproduct obviously of not getting it done on 1st and 10 is not running up against these second and long situations and staying behind the chains, and that obviously is going to manifest itself into 3rd and long situations, and that's the worst thing that a young quarterback needs at that point. And look, we talked about having to have some semblance of getting this run game going again. And, right almost from the get-go, you could tell James Conner wasn't right. Wasn't 100%. Not the same kind of initiating contact kind of James Conner, that he's been. It doesn't take too terribly long for that shoulder of his to get knocked out of the game. Jalen Samuels is not an every down NFL running back, plain and simple. He's not ever going to be an every down running back. He is a Mewaldy Moore-ish player that can't pass protect either right now.
Yeah, a little worse than Mewaldy Moore.
That's what he is. And to expect – and Trey Edmonds is a practice squad running back. I hate to be blunt, but that's what he is. Tony Brooks-James is probably the same way right there. So, and has the offensive line been great this year? No, but for all these people that are saying, Mike Munchak was the biggest off-season loss this team has had, that's BS. I mean, that's just flat out BS. Is it painful to lose a guy such as Mike Munchak? Absolutely it is. But this line didn't all of a sudden forget that kind of stuff. Sean Surratt did not all of a sudden forget everything that Mike Munchak taught him, or drills, and all, stuff to look for and breakdowns. Mike Munchak being gone is not the reason, the entire reason, or the big reason why this team is unable to run the football. I think a lot of it has to do with maybe a little bit of blocking schemes. I think obviously the technique and just carrying out an execution is not getting done. And sometimes it's flat out the running back just not the ball placement being bad there. But it's bad, and if it's not fixed, it's going to continue to cripple this offense, because if you give a young quarterback no running game, and you're set up in second and longs and third and longs all game, it's just not conducive to success. And no, I'm not drawing comparisons quarterback to quarterback to Ben Roethlisberger, because that'd be absolutely stupid, because Ben Roethlisberger does things that a lot of quarterbacks in the league don't do and won't do in the future around the league. But remember that way back in Ben Roethlisberger's early playing, early rookie season and really first several years of his career, they had a running game to help support him. The 2019 Steelers do not have a running game, and it's so hard to work around that aspect of it when you can't even get 3 yards on 1st and 10, let alone 4 or 5 or 6, which a lot of times you need to have happen during a game.
It's so hard to be a one-dimensional team regardless of who your quarterback is. Even if Ben's your quarterback, it's hard to be one-dimensional. It's doubly difficult to be a good offensive team when you have one dimension and you have a young quarterback that's struggling. And there's just no semblance of balance right now, no semblance of a rushing threat, and there's no good runners on this team. Obviously, with James Conner down, and as you say, he didn't look right. This is his first or second carry of the game. He goes off left side. He's one-on-one with Grady Williams, who's not a good tackler, a rookie corner. That is an ideal matchup, a matchup you expect your running back to win. He gets taken down by the ankles for a loss of 1, and that kind of set the tone for the game. He leaves, and there are no other good runners on this team. Jalen Samuels has no vision, no power, very little burst. Trey Edmonds has trouble being able to play to his style, and really is just kind of a plotter, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, try to fall forward kind of guy. You don't have that on this team right now. You have no fullback. The tight ends haven't blocked well. Obviously, the O-line has clearly struggled, especially as a run-blocking team. So you have no dimension of a run game right now with a young quarterback. That's a recipe for disaster. To give you the stat, on 3rd and 4th and short, or 3rd and 4th and 1 this year to be more specific, let me tell you who the best in football is in that situation. Unsurprisingly, the Baltimore Ravens are converting 3rd and 4th and 1 at a 90% clip, 9 of 10 attempts. The Steelers, dead last. They've had 16 plays of, and this is updated from last night's game, 16 plays of 3rd and 4th and 1. They've only gotten a first down on 4 of them, 25%. Most other teams are even around 50%. Like the Browns are 30th in football, and they are converting at 47%. The Panthers are 31st, 31%. Steelers dead last at 25%. So
how many of those was week 1 against New England?
I can check here quickly. I know that was an issue. against. Yeah, they had a terrible time in that game. They had a terrible time last night too. I can look at how many came in each game this year. But
I guess what I'm getting at is this. Look, I'm sure we can think hard enough, pull up maybe instances of some other games, but is the majority of those in those two games last night in New England?
5 last night, went 1 for 5 last night on first downs. Against New England, they were 0 of 4. 2 failed against Cincinnati, 1 of 2 against the Rams, 0 of 1 against Miami, 1 of 1 against the Chargers, 1 of 1 against Seattle. So they're 1 and 9 in third and fourth, and 1 against the Browns and Patriots combined.
1 of 9
in those 2 games combined.
Okay,
yes.
What's the total number?
4 for 16.
All right, so more than half of them came from those 2 games.
Right, and obviously both losses.
All right. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, that's been a bugaboo in running the football, and I don't know what you do at this point. I mean, look, James Conner's probably going to be out. How long? He needs some time off. I mean, are you just going to go another 2 weeks? I mean, I guess you get a little bit longer time here with this mini bye, but not much. I mean, I would be surprised if he makes it for the Bengals game. I mean, you're going to need him. You need him sidelined probably 3 weeks to get him. He maybe close back to where he needs to be there. So if he's sidelined, I just cringe because Jalen Samuels is not a guy. He had the great showing against New England. I thought that was kind of more scheme, it was kind of scheme related, if you will, and really had a lot to do with the Patriots worrying more about the wide receivers than they were Jalen Samuels in that game. I think that had a lot to do with it as well too. In other words, you don't have any running backs that give you any confidence outside of Connor when he's 100% that this team can do anything with a running game. So with that, people are saying sign Jay Ajayi. Let me tell you about Jay Ajayi. You want to talk about bad run success rates, man? That guy had bad run success rates. That's why he's not getting signed. He'll get you the 17-yard run, and then the next 4 runs would be 1, 2 negative yards. I understand he's a big name and people throwing it out there, but I don't believe that that's upgrading your running back position. Really, at this point right now, you're probably just not going to find anybody out on the street. So you better start being more creative with your trying different things with your run. And here's
so what do you try? I honestly don't know what you try.
Yeah, I don't know either, other than running maybe more power.
Yeah.
And try to get people. They gotta get these backs out. These are out in space backs, I think. Tony Brooks James. Look, you're gonna have to try to maybe running some more outside zone or something. You've got to get some of these guys out in space, make a little bit larger holes instead of just running 14 straight, up the middle, or some of the things that they're like. And here's the thing too: do you want to be a 2 tight end team? If so, then you need to build your passing game off of that, sort of a la what the 49ers do, right? But they just. It looks out of sorts right now because they don't have one particular identity right now. When you don't run the ball early in the games too successfully, then you become a team that's trying to chuck it on 2nd and 3rd and long all the way down the field with a young quarterback. Mm-hmm. And even with Juju and Deontay Johnson and James Washington, that's such an inexperienced wide receiver group, right?
Yeah, even before those guys got hurt, the offense wasn't doing anything. It wasn't like the offense was flourishing with those guys early in the game. They go down and your offense, reverses itself. But I think conceptually, I think you try to spread things out. I think it's maybe the best way to create a run game is just displace linebackers, lighten the box naturally, and maybe get these guys one-on-one and hope they can make a play 50% of the time. But I'm not opposed to the idea, with it being a couple extra days, you got 10 days here to your next game against Cincinnati, of looking at the free agent pool, maybe trying to bring somebody in if Connor's going to miss a couple more weeks. And I'm not saying it has to be Jay Ajayi, probably not him. A, I think the Eagles are working him out today. And B, I'm not crazy about his game either. And we get so hyper-focused on one name sometimes that we forget about the other options out there. I don't have a name for you right now, but I'm not opposed to the idea because you don't have any other good runners on this team. I need guys that can run the football. You think you have 4 of them on your roster, none of them can do it right now, and how frustrating is that? Samuels has been a big disappointment here in year 2. Edmonds is a special teams guy. Tony Brooks-James, maybe he offers you something, but we don't know much about him. So I'm not opposed to the idea of looking at somebody with the extra time I have. But I think conceptually you got to try to spread things out, go 11 personnel, displace some linebackers, and just try to lighten the box because this team cannot run it in tight to save their life.
Yeah, look, teams are stacking a box and trying to cover these wide receivers one-on-one, on the outside with very little safety help.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, last night you could do it because who were you scared of? You weren't scared of anybody last night.
Right, and I mean, yeah, especially as the game progressed then, because you got, I mean, look, no disrespect. I thought Devon Jones, I thought he did okay, and nobody went into that game thinking, oh, Devon Jones is going to play however many percent of snaps.
Mm-hmm.
At most, you're thinking that he might see some goal line work or something like that. I wonder how many reps Devon Jones actually got, during practice
not many.
This past week here. But that aside, Devon Jones is a practice squad wide receiver. Johnny Holton, bless his heart, is a practice squad wide receiver. He's a DHB junior. He helps you out on special teams, but that's pretty much it. You play nearly half of that game with James Washington and those 2 other guys.
And that was it too. You had no chance to rotate.
Right, and you can't rotate those guys out. And you continually be in second and third and long. Then Vance McDonald gets a little bit more too. I don't know what you think about Nick Vannett so far in his blocking. Not good. I don't think McDonald's blocking's been great either, and he's been better than that in the past. It's just all crap right now,
Mm-hmm.
And now I guess we can segue. People are going to want us to talk about Mason Rudolph's play.
Yeah, just one real quick note just to kind of sum up last night's game. Guys who were playing some fairly significant snaps was Devon Jones making his NFL debut. He went all Walter Young on us with his first catch against the Cleveland Browns on a 3rd down play. And then Jay Elliott, who I guess we should note here was signed and had been off the team for 2 weeks now and has to come in and play some serious snaps at outside linebacker because Ola Daney gets hurt early in that game. So you just have so many phases coming in on the fly on a short week. It was just a mess. I mean, there's just no other way to describe it. It was a mess last night.
Juju Smith-Schuster played 22 of 74 snaps.
Yeah, I mean, he took that hit across the middle, and then Deontay Johnson joined him a little bit later on a really scary hit where he's bleeding out of his ear, which I think was Mel said, or Dr. Mel said, superficial and not indicative of any sort of serious brain injury. But, yeah, I mean, you lose your top 2 receivers.
Deontay Johnson played 38 of 74, right at a little bit higher than 50% of the snaps that he played. That resulted in Devon Jones playing 36 snaps, almost 50%. James Washington had to play 63 of 74. And who else are we looking for here? Johnny Holton played 44. You don't go into the game thinking that's what you're going to do, and you probably had a lot of people playing. Maybe you could see a couple of them kind of talking to each other. What's my assignment here?
Oh, I bet Devon Jones got more reps last night's game than he did in practice during the week. So, hey, real quick before we talk to Mason Rudolph, can we talk about the roster moves that were made? Because I know I probably should have led off with that, but with the whole Myles and Garrett stuff, the Steelers did make some roster moves, which was expected prior to Thursday's game. Going on injured reserve was Roosevelt Nix and Ryan Switzer. Team promoted Devon Jones from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. Jones making his NFL debut, and they've also signed Jay Elliott on the yo-yo back on the roster now. So no Switzer for the year, no Nix for the year. Nix, I think, is obviously the bigger loss here, fullback, special teams, and then Switzer means you got to find new options in your return game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Well, here's the thing. To get J-Ron Elliott off the street that late, you had to know something was up And look, I realized he had been with you and all like that, and knew the playbook. They probably told him stay ready.
I hope they were giving him a game plan during the week. I hope he had something.
I hope he did too. Sitting there at home eating.
How many snaps did he have last night? 10?
Yeah, that's a good question. You go into that hoping he's not going to play any.
Right.
I'm sure. 8.
Right. And this is a guy that hasn't been part of your team for 2 weeks.
Right. And look,
and
I thought
on that one play too.
And that's not his fault though. I mean, you get the quarterback pumps you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not putting it on him.
I'm just saying, you bring in somebody cold like that, they're going to look pretty bad when you put them out there.
Yeah, but go back and watch that was a great job by Baker.
It was. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield being a great player and Jay Elliott being the yo-yo guy.
Right. But even so, I'm leaping on that. I think even Watt's probably leaping on that. You know. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here defending a practice squad outside linebacker, but anyway, what were we talking about?
Mason Rudolph. Obviously, just a dreadful performance, his worst of the year. 4-interception game, his first 4-interception game of his career, both college and pro. Really not here to defend that one bit. The only thing I would say is that it's a short week. He's the guy that works best when he has time to prepare and get reps and kind of be really mentally sharp and ready. I think playing on a short week, his first time ever for a Thursday game, didn't allow that, and you couple that with the injuries and his own obvious mistakes, and you get just that horrendous performance that you saw last night.
Well, refresh my memory. I'm getting a little bit up here in age. Have I ever christened Mason Rudolph anything?
No, I don't think either of us have.
What has been my remarks about? Help me out here, because I do sometimes can forget kind of short term things or whatnot. What has kind of been my overall outlook from the day he was drafted until kind of right now angle with Mason Rudolph?
I'm not entirely sure where you're going with this, but I just think we've both kind of been in a wait-and-see approach of just let's see if he gets better and just kind of sit back and look at this thing in totality and evaluate him from that standpoint.
Right. All of a sudden, I think I'm getting painted as being Mason Rudolph's going to be the franchise quarterback that's going to win the next couple Super Bowls for the Steelers. But I'm not even nowhere close to that right now. I believe I've said all along that I want to watch him the rest of this season. You know, I don't want to get too high on his better games. I don't want to get too low on his bad games. And that was an awful game for Mason Rudolph. There's no two ways about it. But I think he did do some good things in that game. How many balls, deep balls, probably should have been caught? Holton probably should have had 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Deontay alligator armed one that I thought was a good ball. Even the flea flicker that was picked off, I thought it was an accurate pass. I thought the defensive back made a good play to pop that thing up in the air or whatnot, but I didn't think it was an awfully placed throw.
I thought it should have been outside shoulder, but there was some pressure at the end of that play. Who knows how much they even practice that play? They're doing that to Devon Jones. I mean, it's all kind of, trying to go make it up as you go along kind of thing. It was a bad performance. So I think that's what it was. It was just a bad performance.
It was, and he had a lot of pressure he dealt with early and often in that game. Is he the kind of guy that's going to play Frogger in the pocket like a Baker Mayfield? No, that's not his game. Or at least it hasn't been. Not and I watched every snap of his at Oklahoma State. You just don't see that kind of, he's not Russell Wilson. He's not Baker Mayfield from that aspect of their play. He can extend some plays Roethlisberger-like, but make no mistake, he's not the guy that's going to have 4 people hanging on him in the pocket, knock him off, and then extend the play outside. That's not his game either. He's more of a prototypical pocket passer. Does he need to get better in the pocket, and can that be improved? I think it can still. And I thought he made some decent throws in that game. Now, the one behind Tevin that was intercepted, just awful. Very, very bad throw. I'm letting him off the hook for the flea flicker one. But the late one to Joe Schobert, well, he threw two to Joe Schobert, was the one behind Tevin to Joe Schobert. I think it was.
I think when they start running together, that's the problem itself. The way I sum it up is that he didn't help his teammates, obviously, and his teammates didn't help him. Doc and O-line, run game, receivers, and so it was a mess across the board. But Rudolph obviously, I don't think, did his teammates any favors either. I broke down the play today, and that to me his most egregious mistake on a night where there were tons of egregious mistakes was the 4th and 1 where it's 14-7. They're trying to look at Shameless in the left flat. It's not there. He's got Johnny Holton wide open, Dave, wide open, middle of the field, and I think he tries to be too perfect. He's trying to reset his feet instead of just getting the ball out, delivering a strike, and moving the chains. And so he's got to really learn, and this goes back to what you said about him trying to be a little too perfect and trying to be a little too fundamental. He's got to learn that you can't always throw from a clean platform. You're going to have to throw off platform and off base and just kind of chuck the ball out sometimes. That's what Ben has made a living off of. That's what all good quarterbacks have to do when the moment requires and calls for it. And so he's got to learn just to be able to get that ball out quick. It doesn't matter if it's messy and if it's not fundamentally sound, just make the play. And so I don't know if you saw the breakdown I did this morning on that. If you haven't, for people listening, go check it out on Steelers Depot. That pocket movement, that pocket presence, and knowing to be quick and decisive, it's still an issue with him. Still an issue.
Yeah, he needs to get better with the decision making. He needs to process it quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's got to learn that you can't make every throw can't be fundamental. Every throw can't be like a 7-on-7 drill. We're going to have to just throw off platform and throw messy and just make the play. Nothing else matters. Just make the play.
Wait a minute. You're saying I criticized him in the past and I said he tries to be too perfect at times? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I know you've gotten heat. I've gotten heat, and I just take that as just what happens during a loss. I tune that stuff out.
But here's the thing. All right, I want to get you on record on this too. At any point would you have pulled – not counting getting clocked on the head. At any time, would you have pulled Mason Rudolph from that game?
No, I mean, I was a little surprised he was out there for the final, so the last 30 seconds of the game, and I was even surprised he was out there for the snap they took after he got clocked in the head by Garrett. I'm not sure why you don't put Duck in at that point. But no, I mean, I never really considered taking him out mid-game. Did Hodges even get any reps during the week on a short week in general? I mean, no, Rudolph was going to be your guy.
All right, we have some breaking news here.
Some Myles Garrett related.
It looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Brown organizations have each been fined $250,000, and three players, Cleveland's Myles Garrett and Larry Ogunjobi, and Pittsburgh's Maurkice Pouncey, have been suspended without pay for their actions in Thursday night's game. Garrett has been suspended without pay indefinitely at a minimum for the remainder of the regular season and postseason, and must meet with the commissioner's office to a decision on his reinstatement. He was also fined an additional amount. Garrett violated unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct rules, as well as removing the helmet of an opponent and using it helmet as a weapon. Pouncey has been suspended without pay for 3 games and fined an additional amount for fighting, including punching and kicking an opponent. Ogunjobi has been suspended without pay for 1 game and fined an additional amount for unnecessary roughness, specifically for shoving an opposing player to the ground during an altercation. Additional discipline for other players will be forthcoming through the standard accountability process, including those players that left the bench to enter the fight area under the collective bargaining agreement. The suspensions may be appealed within 3 business days. Appeals are heard and decided by either Derek Brooks or James Thrash, the officers jointly appointed and compensated by the NFL and NFLPA to decide appeals of on-field player discipline. So there you go. Garrett at a minimum for the remainder of the regular season and postseason. Pouncey for 3 games. Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, that was my first reaction. Pouncey for 3. Hopefully that can get reduced. I think obviously the NFL is making the right decision with Garrett. Ogunjobi getting suspended for a game. No problem with that. Steelers have been fined now $350,000 this year after the injury report on Ben, $100,000 and $250,000 for this. But yeah, Pouncey 3 games. That's the one where I take some issue with. Okay, Dave, we're back. If you heard an awkward cut, I'm not sure. I'm sure, Dave, you'll try to cobble it together the best you can. But we had to pause really quickly to write about the news that we just talked about briefly. Maurkice Pouncey suspended for 3 games, Myles Garrett for the season, and Larry Ogunjobi suspended for 1 game, meaning that he'll be back for the Steelers-Browns rematch in 2 weeks. And Pouncey, as of this moment, unless his suspension gets reduced, will not be eligible until Week 15 against Buffalo. And Garrett done for the year. I highly doubt that gets overturned on appeal. So, yeah, for Pouncey, hey, him being suspended, I understand. I'm not going to complain about that in principle. He should be suspended for kicking. That's just going to be a policy. But 3 games for me, too harsh.
Yeah, way too harsh. Like I said, I expected I expected at least a game or a game, but I thought
it was a big game.
I thought that would be at most, right? So yeah,
unless their thought process is, hey, this guy's going to appeal it, and that's going to knock it down to 1 or 2 games, so we'll go a little bit harsher to know it's going to come down on appeal.
Well, here's the thing. You definitely appeal this if you haven't already, and maybe it gets knocked down a game. I think he's obviously got a better shot at getting his knocked down than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, that's going to stick. And just to clarify, it's indefinite with Myles Garrett. Yeah, they'll let Myles Garrett. They let Vontaze Burfict back in the game. They'll let Myles Garrett back in the game. People are tweeting, "Oh, his career might be over." You know that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, he's gonna be back. Probably he'll be back for next year. Probably.
Yeah, he'll be back right at the start of next year. Look, as far as Pouncey goes, that's 3 games is too much. So hopefully he gets it knocked down. Look, you hate to match it up to the schedule here, but they probably don't need him against the Bengals. They'd like to have him, obviously, but that'd be bad enough not having him there. But rematch against the Browns, not having him when the Browns do have Larry Ogunjobi back for that game, I find that kind of a bit ridiculous. And then the game, I guess, against the Cardinals after that. So I think the right thing to do is for Pouncey to appeal this, and then if I were to place a bet, I think it gets knocked down 1 game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And in his absence, until he returns, B.J. Finney will take over as the Steelers' starting center. With Ogunjobi, I understand what you're saying. That rematch, there's going to probably be some bad blood there, but I wasn't even sure if he was going to get suspended, so I didn't think it was going to be more than 1 game if he did get suspended. And I don't know if you can change your punishments and tailor your punishments to the schedule itself. I think you just have to look at the act itself and make your determination off of that. So I'm cool with 1 game for Ogunjobi.
Right.
All right, Dave.
All I was getting at with Larry was if he got 1 game, Pouncey should. I just think both.
Well, for Pouncey was the kick. Obviously that's the big thing. If he had just punched him and did everything without the kick, he probably gets 1 game, maybe even nothing at all. But when you throw in the kick, that's always stuff that's going to get you suspended in the NFL.
Right.
All right, Dave. We were talking about Rudolph. I'm not even sure exactly where we left off because it's been about 20 minutes now in real time in our conversation. But the point I want to make is that yes, yesterday was terrible for Rudolph. There's no getting around that. But because of the circumstances and just when we talk about good games for Mason Rudolph, we don't want to be prisoner of the moment in the good games. We also don't want to be prisoner of the moment in the bad games either. So I'm really just interested to see how he responds from this one. He's got 10 days to chew on it with everything that happened at the end of the game. Let's see how this guy comes back. I think that's the true test and measure of a quarterback, is how you bounce back from those terrible outings. Do you correct your mistakes and play a whole lot better, or do these mistakes continue to creep up? So that's going to be the big thing for Mason Rudolph.
And look, I thought, due to all that, I thought the pressure started to work on him a little bit too, getting that ball out and not being accurate on a few of those throws. So I think pressure got to him and kind of affected what he trying to get rid of that ball maybe too soon and lack ball placement on several of those throws. It was an awful game by him, and I thought the most egregious interception was the last one, to be honest with you. Obviously the one thrown behind, we'll have to look at the route and all like that. Make sure that was run okay by Devon Jones. It looked like it was and all like that. Just looked like a bad throw behind him. But once again, those two guys probably didn't get a lot of reps together either, right?
Right, yeah, hardly any, I'm sure. So, yeah, the circumstances do have to be taken into account. And we'll see going forward. But, again, not going to make any excuses for it, really. It was a bad game. I broke down the 4th-and-1 failure. There were so many mistakes that were on him. And, like I said, we'll just have to see how he kind of tries to bounce back from this one. He's been mentally tough, and he does have a short-term memory, and you got to appreciate that. And that does tell me that he's got a shot to try to bounce back and play a whole lot better. And he'll need to play a whole lot better against the Bengals.
And should Duck Hodges be given any consideration here, Alex?
No, you're rolling with Rudolph. You got to find out what you have in this guy. I think it's a great opportunity coming off this terrible game to really see, his resolve and his ability to bounce back and correct those mistakes. So unless the first half of the Bengals game looks like the entirety of this Browns game, during this week, I'm not giving any extra time to Hodges. You're all in on Rudolph right now.
So you're saying that me tweeting last night that Mike Tomlin should not pull Mason Rudolph, and there should be no quarterback controversy here, and that Mason Rudolph is probably likely going to be the guy the rest of the season was right?
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, okay. The focus has to be not on Duck. It's got to be on Rudolph. You got to know what you have in this.
And you would have no issues disagreeing with me if you thought it should go the other way, right?
No, I feel like
you're not
bright light.
I know you're not being held hostage here, right? Tell the people you're not being held hostage. Because look, I just want to make sure I'm not crazy here, because they seem to think that I am on the Twitter machine and in the emails.
Well, I understand being critical of Rudolph, and he's been poor, but Hodges, he's not going to be really any better. He's probably going to be worse. And again, I've been a big Duck Hodges fan. I talked about him before anybody knew who the heck Duck Hodges was. So you're just sticking with Rudolph. That's the way it's going to be.
You're just going to have to suck it up and watch it and play out. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But because you've got to find out what this guy can and can't do, and the development you can get him to make between now and the end of the season, because face it, next season you hope Ben's back and plays all 16 games.
Right. Yeah, this is your time to find out who you have in this guy. And again, you and I will be and have been as critical as him as anybody. The first article, I could have written about anything last night, and the article I chose to write about this morning was one of the big critical mistakes that Rudolph made, and I think a pretty scathing article of him. So we're not opposed to criticizing him, but you also want to see this guy get better and have the chance to correct those mistakes. If you never have the chance to correct those mistakes, then you're never going to get a guy to progress, because Duck's going to make mistakes. If he were to come in hypothetically, and what do you bench him again for Paxton Lynch? I mean, how far does this cycle go? So now you're rolling with Rudolph.
Yeah, I think people tend to forget the pass distances and all in that game against the Chargers as well, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all they know is everything's okay if they win. And people want to say he's not this, he's not. Look, he might not. How many franchise quarterbacks? And what is a franchise quarterback, Alex? Define a franchise quarterback for me.
We're getting really existential. I don't even know. I don't have a clear-cut, textbook definition of it. So
is it one that wins Super Bowls? Is that one? Is that a franchise quarterback?
I mean, it doesn't have to be one. Phillip Rivers has been a franchise quarterback for the longest time. He's never won a Super Bowl, never been to one. You know it when you see it. That's my approach right now. Right. Franchise quarterback when you see him out there playing. And Rudolph does not look like that right now.
No, he does not. No, nobody said he does. Right.
Right. I just want to be clear.
But geez, I mean, you got to find out what you have and what he can do. And who you got to give him. You got to at least give him some weapons on the field to do it with.
Right. Yeah. Last night was just a mess. No run game. O-line couldn't protect. You had no receivers. It's a short week. You're on the road. Again, not excusing his play at all. It was terrible. I can say that a million times, and people will still call me an apologist for it. He was terrible, but there were so many circumstances last night that did not lend itself to him having much of a chance to succeed.
And there are a couple of balls deep down the field that should have been caught as well. One short one, maybe to Juju, that might have had a little bit too much, maybe mustard on it. But this is becoming a common theme with these wide receivers not catching balls, and that's got to stop.
I mean, it took Johnny Holton to his 12th or 13th target of the season, whatever it is, to finally catch a pass. That's getting close to NFL record territory. And you got Devon Jones making his NFL debut. Washington was quieter than what he probably should have been last night, given the renewal of the weapons around him. And again, this team terrible on possession downs. 2 of 11. They were 1 of 9 for most of the game. We talked about how the Rams were 1 of 14 on third down last week, and that was the big stat to circle for why their offense struggled so much, where the Steelers were basically in the same boat on Thursday, and it led their offense to do nothing, just in the way that the Rams offense did nothing.
Once again, if you're out there listen to this, and you make sure you play back in your head this team not having a running game and the effect on all this as well too. I've complained about that almost right from the get-go there, and I really kind of thought the game against the Dolphins was kind of an aberration there. But you don't have your fullback right now. You're not going to have him back. We'll see if they decide to do something with Sutton Smith, at some point. But even if they were to do something with Sutton Smith down the road here, you're still not going to put him on the field for no 15 or 20 plays, I don't think, a game. Kind of situation there. You're going to have to figure out a better way to start running the football, or you're going to continue with your quarterback being in second and third and long situations, and that's not going to be conducive to his development, and especially if he doesn't have his what you would deem as top wide receivers out there, which, by the way, are all very, very young and inexperienced. So you've got a great, you've got an experienced offensive line out there, and then a bunch of kids.
Yeah, well, the concern is, does this run game get better going forward? And that's a big question mark.
I don't see how it does. But
yeah, unless James Conner is somehow magically going to get healthy for this Bengals game, which, good luck. I don't think that's happening. I don't know. I don't really see this run game getting a whole lot better now that you're down Pouncey and the issues you've had just in general, even with a healthy group together. So that's going to be a huge problem, and this offense is going to continue to struggle just in general, but especially if they can't get this run game going.
Yeah, once again, I think you got to do something. You got to maybe run some more outside zone. You got to do some pin and pulls. You got to do something to create some hopefully some space for some running backs to read.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you guys spread the field out. I think you go 11 personnel, get tight ends split out wide, and try to lighten that box up. But all right, Dave, anything else from this game? Special teams, you had the bad hold by Jordan Berry that led to a Chris Boswell missed field goal. His only 2 misses this year have been from 54 yards, and the bad hold by Berry last night. Return game gave you nothing. Berry had some nice punts. That was about it for special teams.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't hit on it when we were talking about the Steelers defense too. I mean, the Browns did let them off the hook a couple of times with a couple of misses there.
Mm-hmm.
So it technically, I guess, could have been worse than 14-0, in the second half there than what it was. Now you got to credit the defense for getting off the field in those situations and setting up those long field goal situations there. But him missing a couple of them kicks certainly kept the Steelers in the game as well too.
Yeah, no, that's
it was a very winnable game for the Steelers overall, just because of how their defense responded. Was their defense perfect? Will we be breaking down some things that they did wrong this week? Absolutely, we will. But rest assured, that one went on the offense.
Yeah, an average offense, is going to be able to win you that game or at least tie the game, and who knows what happens from there. And the only touchdown drive the Steelers had was basically aided by just a million Browns penalties for PI and holding and illegal hits and all that stuff. So, I mean, even your one scoring drive was basically the Browns just flagging themselves to get the Steelers to drive down the field.
Attention, past, present, and future MyBookie players. During Thanksgiving week, MyBookie is offering a risk-free bet on the Bears-Lions game. Simply choose a team against the spread for up to $250. If you win, congrats. You got extra holiday spending money. If you lose, congratulations to you as well. MyBookie will give you all your money back. It's a no-brainer because you literally cannot lose. It's no risk, all gravy for your Thanksgiving week there. It doesn't matter whether you're an experienced player or a first-time customer. MyBookie welcomes all to come play, so quit waiting around and sign up today. Do you find yourself waiting to sports bet but have lots of questions, don't sweat it. My bookie's patient customer service team can walk you through the process, and the best part is if you join this upcoming Thanksgiving week, you'll still have one last shot to take advantage of their incredible sign-up offer. Just log on to mybookie.ag and make your first deposit with promo code TERRIBLE, and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar to jumpstart your bankroll, and that's on top of the risk-free bet. Let me repeat, that's guaranteed deposit, match, and a risk-free bet for Thanksgiving only. So if you're a true football fan, you do not want to let this opportunity pass you by. You simply cannot lose. Make sure you do your part to support your team this season. Hop on the gravy train and get in on the action with MyBookie. You play, you win, you get paid. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat there.
There's a GoFundMe to pay for Pouncey's fine.
Oh, Lord.
Which, anyway. All right, Dave. We have picks. We have emails. I guess we should do picks first for the week because there is football this weekend. And we'll get to some reading emails to close out the show.
Yeah, and I guess we should start trying to roll through it pretty quick here. We both were on the Steelers plus the 3 points last night. That obviously didn't come to fruition. How about the New Orleans? Here, I guess the good thing is now is once we get through today, Alex, we can kind of rest and watch a little bit of football. We'll root for the Texans too and see if we get something can happen there. New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll rapid fire these. Buccaneers at home plus 5.5.
Saints bounce back. Give me Sean Payton's crew.
Give me the Buccaneers at home to cover this one and not win it. I think Jameis Winston can do a little bit of damage here. Atlanta Falcons at Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are at home laying 4 points.
Falcons really surprised last week. I think they kind of come back to earth defensively. I'm going to go Carolina.
Yeah, I like Carolina in this as well, too, just from a defensive aspect. Jacksonville Jaguars at Indianapolis Colts. The Colts at home laying 3, Alex.
With Hoyer still at quarterback, it was ugly last week. I'll go Jacksonville this one to Foles return.
I'm going to go with you as well, too. Foles return in this one as well, too. I think Jacksonville will be able to move the ball a little bit here. Denver at Minnesota. Minnesota laying 10 at home against the Donkeys.
That is a big line. That's tough. I'm going to say Minnesota wins, Denver covers.
I'm going to say Minnesota blows them out. Lay to 10. Jets at the Redskins. It's going to be the rookie quarterback the rest of the way, supposedly for the Redskins there. Laying 2.5 against the Jets.
Yeah, this is a ugly game to try to think about here. I'll go Washington. Something with Haskins, maybe he makes a play, but I'd stay away from this one.
Yeah, I would stay away from this one as well too. But I'll take the Jets to win this one outright. Here, so give me the Jets plus 2.5. Buffalo at Miami. Miami plus 6.5 at home against the Bills.
I'm going to go Buffalo on this one.
Yeah, I think Buffalo rebounds here. Lay the 6.5 in that as well too. The one we're probably going to be paying close attention to: the Houston Texans travel to Baltimore, take on the Ravens. The Ravens laying 4.
Man, Baltimore's been so impressive. I got to go with the Ravens in this one until they prove me someone can slow down Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's the key here. Can he slow down Lamar Jackson? I think it just comes down to that. I'm going to say Baltimore wins, but by a field goal. This ought to be a pretty damn good game, you know it?
Yeah.
Give me Houston plus the 4. Arizona Cardinals, a quick turnaround rematch of that game a couple of weeks ago against the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, my boy George Kittle sideline, Alex. Don't look like he's going to play in this game. 49ers minus 10.5 at home.
Oh, another big line. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Well, it's against Arizona, right?
It's against Arizona at San Francisco.
You know what? Arizona's been playing better lately. Their offense is starting to get it together. I'm going to say the Cardinals cover this one.
Yeah, they cost me that last time, remember? So I'm going to have San Francisco getting out of there, not only with the win, but with the cover. Lay the 10.5 here. New England at Philadelphia. New England coming off the bye. Eagles plus 4.
Yeah, Patriots off the bye. Give me the Pats.
Yeah, Pats big in this one. Lay the 4 points. Bengals at the Raiders. Raiders laying 11.5.
Ooh, that is a big line. Raiders are playing some really good football, though. I think the Bengals keep keep it at 10, so I'll go Cincinnati, but Raiders are going to win this one.
I'm with you as well, too. I think they do just enough to cover here. So give me the Bengals plus the 11.5 points. Chicago at the Rams. The Rams laying 6.5 here. Rams coming off a bye too. No, wait. No, they lost. They lost to the Steelers last week.
Right.
It feels like there's been all this extra time now.
Yeah, amen. I'm going to go with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams laying a 6.5 as well, too. And that brings us to the Monday night game, the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Boy, the Chargers lose this one. Forget about it. But can they keep it close? Chargers at home, +4.
This one's down in Mexico, isn't it?
That's right.
Home game?
Yeah, that's right.
But either way, give me KC in this one.
You know what? Give me the Chargers in this one. Give me the money line on this as well too. I'm calling an upset here for the Monday night game. Give me Chargers money line and plus the 4 there on this one. All right, we made it through that. I guess we should hit the M box here. There might be some that I can't read on the air here.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Barbardi, I'm sure all the emails will be reasonable today, Dave. Just a couple of takes here. Bad game. I had to put my glasses on here. Bad game for the offense all around, losing Juju and Connor, and a horrendous hit on Deontay. It seemed like whenever Rudolph actually had time to throw, he couldn't find anyone open. Interested what the All-22 has to say. I am as well, Jay. I think we really felt the absence of much last night. I think you're off base there, Jay Bombardi. Did like the effort from Holton, laying out, grasping for positives through all the nonsense. It was good to see Mason fight to the bitter end. Some awful throws for sure, but he never saw quite quit or loss of confidence. Jens has been saying it. His mental fortitude is absolutely his greatest strength. Only lost his cool on the unnecessary takedown. Shouldn't have messed with Garrett's helmet, but it's hardly something egregious. Anyway, I'll be avoiding any and all coverage for at least a week, with the exception of you guys. Thanks for being voices of reason in this age of instant reaction. Look, I mean, I certainly would like to be talking more about Rudolph's best trait right now being his mental toughness.
Yeah, but there's a point where you got to show more than just mental toughness. That alone does not make for good quarterback play. It's a critical component of good quarterback play, but that alone does not guarantee success. So we got to see more progression from him and more progression from this entire offense.
Yeah, I'd like. Let's see how he bounces back now. And hopefully the mental toughness is there, but hopefully there's some game to go along with it there as well. Connor Dietrich writes in from Connor. Hey guys, want to give you a non-brawl question. When Tomlin called timeout before the 4th and 1 that the Steelers went for it, why not just challenge the no DPI call on Holton in the end zone? I get it, slim chance of winning, but you're going to lose a timeout anyway and still get a chance to call play, and then there's always a slight chance to call does get overturned. I'd say the only argument against it would be losing a challenge. But what are the odds of needing 2 challenges in the last 12 or so minutes of the game? I think you just hit on it, Connor. Look, I can see why people are asking that. And I don't think you're the first or the last one to ask that. I think I saw another one in here, probably just along the same lines there. But I think it goes back to is it conceivably winnable or not, and it will cost you a challenge. And you just can't bet that you're not going to need it in the last 12 minutes in what was at the time, I think, a 7-point ball game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tomlin was asked about that after the game, said the same thing. I'm cool with the no challenge there.
But I get why we're getting questions on that, if that makes sense.
It's still the least of my concerns though after this game.
Bob Turner, hello, Dave. That was the ugliest ending to a football game that I've seen. That being said, the Steelers played a miserable game. It's one of those games we've been accustomed to during the Tomlin era. It's obvious that they can't win this year without creating 2 to 3 turnovers. Last night they were 0-4 in the turnover battle. How much do you think offensive line misses Munchak? The run. Have you chimed in on this? Chime in on the Munchak thing, Alex.
Yeah, it doesn't come to my radar as something that they're critically missing. The run game had issues last year, even with Munchak. It's not. I wouldn't think this offensive line would somehow be magically a million times better if it was Mike Munchak leading this group. Look at Denver right now in that offensive line. I mean, as much as I love Munchak and as valuable as he is, he's not a miracle worker in the way that Garrett would have walked over Villanova the same way, regardless of who the O-line coach was last night.
All right, Steeler fans will get down on Rudolph, but the last time the Steelers played in Cleveland at the beginning of 2018 in that 2021 tie game, didn't Ben throw 5 interceptions and lose a fumble? Oh, but he's earned the right to do that, Bob.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a game in 06, I think, against Oakland where they lost a terrible one of those Raiders games where Ben threw, I think, 4 or 5 picks. So, yeah,
and what about the Jacksonville game a couple of years ago?
Sure. Yeah, everyone thought Ben was done. So those
quarterbacks have bad games.
Yeah.
Right?
Now let's just see what the response is. That's going to be the most critical component of this is the response.
And no, we're not comparing Mason to Ben. We're just comparing it to the fact that quarterbacks have bad games, especially those in Pittsburgh there. Connor can't stay healthy, but I'm not going to read the rest of this right now. Let's see. Jonathan Mason writes in, why is everyone continuing to be hard on Mason? I get that he didn't have a good game, but the guy never gets help from his teammates. Horrible blocking, injuries, and no running game. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback, but do you think he can be a starter with a good defense and running game? I don't know. We haven't. I mean, we've seen the good defense part, but not the good running game. I'm just so tired of hearing about Duck. Why do you think? Why do people think he can make a difference? Because he's not the quarterback on the field. Go all the way back in the annals here, and Steeler fans love the guy that's not playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. To the first point about what kind of quarterback Rudolph can be, I don't know. We don't know. We're still finding that out. And again, I understand, yeah, he got no help from his teammates last night, but he didn't help his teammates either with his poor play. So it's got to be a relationship that works both ways. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see going forward. That's why I want to take the whole season in totality, not just base off of just one game. Okay, he's bad this game. He's not going to be a good quarterback. Then let's say he plays well against the Bengals, and everyone's saying, oh, okay, he's a good quarterback. We're not going to ride that roller coaster. We're going to look at the whole season, let you know end of the year.
Colin Kaepernick from Will Fernandez. Good morning, Dave and Alex. Full disclosure, I thought of the following question statements on Colin Kaepernick before last night's poor display by Rudolph. What are your thoughts on the Steelers signing Colin Kaepernick prior to being blackballed by the NFL? He showed he had great arm and legs. Will, did you watch the last couple of years of tape on Colin Kaepernick? Because I have. Why not give him a chance? The offense right now is in neutral. It can use a spark, and I don't mean start Duck Hodges or Paxton Lynch. I like Mason Rudolph's moxie, and he seems confident, but this team needs a spark. Mason's arm is average at best and cannot make all the throws. Yes, there will be media backlash and extensive coverage, but I believe the Steelers would navigate through this just fine. Give him 5 games. Let's see what happens. Do you have to be drug tested, Will Fernandez? Hope not.
No, I think we'll see what happens with the workout with Kaepernick. I think he should get a shot in the league, and maybe he will somewhere, but that place won't be in Pittsburgh, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, his tape last couple of years is not good.
Well, there's a lot of bad quarterback tape at Garrett.
Sure. So. I mean, use the time to look at Mason.
Sure.
Nicholas Gooden writes in, hey, gentlemen, been listening to this show for a few years now, but this is my first time writing to the ends. There's been constant talk about Steelers coaches are on the hot seat this year. Personally, I don't believe there will be any changes at OC, DC, or head coach. However, I feel like with how the offense has performed so far, Fichtner could be most likely to go. I feel like he is the OC because Ben wants him to be, and if Ben isn't able to go next year and retires, which I hope doesn't happen, then I could see the Steelers making a young outside hire to help develop Rudolph. Thoughts? Keep up the good work. You guys are only the Steelers bloggers and analysts that I pay attention to. The national media is garbage. Thank you, Nick. Right now, Danny Smith's on the hot seat. That's it.
Yeah, every expectation is Ben's going to be back, which means Fichtner's going to be back, and I think Butler gets re-signed a new contract too.
And that's it. I mean, that's all I can think of right now. Look at the situation here, and your defense is playing well. If Ben comes back, which he should, Randy's going to be there. Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere, so that leaves Danny Smith as being the only one really to have questions about. All right, Alex, I know you got an interview to get to. We got a few more emails in here we'll try to get to on Monday here. We'll have a lot of time to talk. We'll recap the game more. We'll talk about what happened around the NFL. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this whole Garrett melee situation as well too. So with that, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar, and you can get an ad-free version of Steelers Depot as well, too, by going to SteelersDepot.com and hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. For $25, you can have a year's access to SteelersDepot.com without all the ads, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that. So, Alex, let's get after it, brother. I'll talk to you again on Monday. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.